Marvel finally did it. They actually did it. After years of the Netflix Punisher being one of the best things Marvel had ever put on screen and then cancelling it, after bringing Frank Castle back as a side character in Daredevil Born Again, they finally gave Jon Bernthal his solo moment. A full Marvel special presentation. Just Frank, just the skull, just the violence. The question is, was it worth the wait? So a little context, because this one requires it. Frank Castle has been through a lot. He debuted in Daredevil Season 2 on Netflix and immediately became a fan favourite. This tortured, terrifying, surprisingly human vigilante who lost his entire family. He got 2 seasons of his own show, then Marvel pulled the plug on everything Netflix, and Frank went dormant for years. He came back in Born Again Season 1, which was decent, but he was a supporting character. This special, One Last Kill, is set during the events of Born Again Season 2, while Frank has been laying low in Little Sicily in New York. The city has gotten worse. Crime is brazen. The NYPD won't touch it. And Frank is sitting in a dark apartment surrounded by newspaper clippings, haunted by hallucinations and contemplating whether he has anything left to live for. That's where we pick up. And the fact that Jon Bernthal co-wrote this himself with director Reinaldo Marcus Green, who worked with Bernthal on King Richard and We Own This City, tells you everything about how much care went into it. This is personal for him, and you feel that. Let me start with what this gets absolutely right. Jon Bernthal. This man is Frank Castle. Not a version of him, not an interpretation, the definitive one. And here, with the freedom to co-write the character himself, Bernthal does something I didn't expect. He goes inward. The first half of this special is almost entirely internal. Frank is falling apart. He's hallucinating people from his past, Curtis Hoyle, Karen Page, and these visions aren't comforting. They're tormenting him. The most gut-punch moment involves his daughter Lisa, and I won't say more than that. But if you followed Frank's story from the beginning, it will land hard. This is the most explicitly we've ever seen Frank's PTSD depicted on screen. The war zone of Hell's Kitchen literally transforms into the war zone of his memories. The cinematographer here is Robert Elswit, an Oscar winner, one of the best working today, and it shows. This looks unlike anything else in the MCU, gritty, dark, textured, more Michael Mann than Kevin Feige. And then the second half happens. The action kicks in. Manuyuki, played by Judith Light, sends an army of criminals to the apartment building. And what follows is Marvel's most purely violent action sequence ever committed to screen. Think The Raid, think Dread, tight corridors, brutal kills, zero mercy. Bernthal is a physical force of nature here, and the stunt work is exceptional. It's absolutely what fans of the Netflix show have been waiting years to see again, except bigger, bloodier, and with a proper budget behind it. Now here's where I have to be honest with you, because it's not perfect. The biggest issue is the runtime, 48 minutes, 43 if you don't count the credits. And for a character with this much history, this much trauma, this much story to tell, it's not enough. The first half, which is all psychological and introspective, is genuinely compelling, but it ends abruptly, almost screeching to a halt when the action plot kicks in. These two halves don't fully connect. It feels like 2 different episodes of a show stitched together, and you're constantly aware that you're watching a proof of concept rather than a complete story. Judith Light as Manuyuki is genuinely interesting when she's on screen, but she's barely on screen. She gets 2 real scenes and then she's basically forgotten by the time the finale hits. A villain that underutilized is a wasted opportunity, especially one with Light's ability. The editing during the action sequences is also choppier than it should be. Some of the cuts during the bigger fight scenes are jarring rather than kinetic. And for long-time fans who've seen every season of the Netflix show, some of this will feel familiar. The PTSD, The grief, the cycle of violence, it's well executed, but it's ground this character has covered before. Here's what I keep coming back to though. This special isn't really called One Last Kill because it's Frank's last mission. It's called that because Bernthal and Green are making an argument. They're saying, look what this character can do with the right creative team and the right budget. Look how dark you can go. Look how much story is still left to tell. Because after this, Bernthal filmed his scenes for Spider-Man Brand New Day. The Punisher is entering the wider MCU, and I think this special is the foundation that makes that feel earned rather than gimmicky. When Frank shows up next to Peter Parker this summer, you're going to understand exactly who he is and where he's been. That's valuable. The audience response, by the way, has been extremely positive. Veterans have specifically called out how authentically the PTSD is handled. Longtime fans are relieved that this isn't a sanitized Disney version of the character. And the consensus is clear. People want more. A full movie, a proper season, whatever they can get. I'm with them. Here's where I land. One Last Kill is flawed. It's too short. The villain is wasted, and the two halves of the story don't always feel like they belong to the same film. If this had been given a full 90-minute runtime or even an hour 20, I think we'd be calling it one of the best things Marvel has ever done. Instead, it's very good, but with the ghost of something great hovering just out of reach. What saves it and what elevates it is Jon Bernthal. This is the best he's ever been as Frank Castle. Full stop. He carries every second of this thing on his back, and he does it with a rawness and a weight that most superhero projects never even attempt. The action is exceptional, the cinematography is exceptional, and as a statement of intent, as a promise of what a proper Punisher project could look like, it absolutely works. I'm giving The Punisher One Last Kill a 7.5 out of 10. It's essential viewing for any Marvel fan. Just go in knowing you're going to finish it wanting twice as much. If this review helped, smash that like button. It genuinely makes a difference. Subscribe if you want reviews every week. And let me know in the comments, do you want a full Punisher movie or a proper season 3? Because I have thoughts. Drop yours below. See you next time.